It's me again. So text to the same page. Facebook addict. Dan Cole used to spend 4 or 5 hours a day on Facebook. It ruled his life. He didn't consider it a problem until he failed an important exam. I'd always been an A student and it was the first time I'd done badly, explains Dan. My parents immediately identified the amount of time I spent on Facebook as the culprit, and I had to admit that they were right. I was a Facebook addict. So I agreed to deactivate my account until I'd retaken and passed the exam. To start with, Dan felt as though his life had ended. He had relied on Facebook for everything, from organizing his photo albums to arranging to meet up with friends. I suddenly had all this time on my hands, and I didn't know what to do with it. I saw it as a negative thing rather than an advantage. But slowly Dan's life began to resemble the one he had had pre-Facebook. He could no longer claim 432 friends, but he kept in touch by phone with the people who were important to him. He started to read books again, and he still had time to revise for his exam. Of course, he passed with flying colors. As soon as he got his results, Dan logged back into his Facebook account. I was full of anticipation. I expected to be sucked back into the world that I'd missed so much. But I soon realized that I hadn't missed anything apart from a few updated status pages. I found myself disappointedly logging out again in less than an hour. Dan still uses Facebook, but these days he controls it instead of it controlling him. It ruled his life. What rules your life? Consider. Consider it a problem. He didn't consider it a problem. Identify. Identified. My parents immediately identified the amount of time. Culprit. As the culprit. My parents immediately identified the amount of time I spent on Facebook as the culprit. Addict. A Facebook addict. To deactivate. To deactivate my account. I agreed to deactivate my account. To start with, rely on. Relied on. He had relied on Facebook for everything. To meet up with friends. Do you often meet up with friends? Had all this time on my hands. To have all this time on my hands. To resemble. Keep in touch by. Kept in touch by. He kept in touch by phone. To revise for. To revise for his exam. And he still had time to revise for his exam. Of course. Of course he passed with flying colors. Pass with flying colors. Have you ever passed your exams with flying colors? Anticipation. I was full of anticipation. To be sucked back into. To be sucked back into. To be sucked. That's it. To be sucked back into the world. What world? Okay. Apart from. Aside from the same. Updated status pages. Update. Updated. Status. Updated status pages. Disappointed. Disappointedly. Disappointedly logging out. I found myself disappointedly logging out. Okay. So on just page 11, the majority of courage, courageous, coward, cowardly, temporal, temporarily, to meet up with friends, reactivate, deactivate, regain, revise for exams. Networking habits. What are your networking habits like? To cancel, club membership, to cancel one's club membership, to be unable to keep up with the payments, to be unable to keep up with the payments. Divulge. You shouldn't divulge. You shouldn't divulge personal information. Appropriate. To air one's views. To air one's political views. To air their political views. Legitimate. A legitimate website. Quarrel. After their quarrel. Fill in my details. Details. To download. To download films. Cake for breakfast. People often don't realize that a throwaway remark can have a profound effect, especially when it comes from a parent. The first time Carlo Russell baked a cake, his mother observed that it was quite nice but a bit dry. Carlo was so offended by what he perceived as her criticism that he avoided baking for years. In fact, he didn't start again until he went to college, which is quite ironic, of course, as he's now best known as the man who inspired men and women all over the country to get baking again. Carlo relates this and many more stories about his early life in his new autobiography, Cake for Breakfast. He also describes his relationship with his grandmother, who inspired him to follow his dream and taught him to value the simple things in life. To resist the temptation to settle for second best and to strive for perfection in everything he does. She would have been thrilled by my success, says Carlo. I wish she could have seen me on TV. She would have been so impressed. Throwaway. A throwaway remark. A profound effect. To have a profound effect. When it comes from. When it comes from a parent. Perceive. He perceived. By what he perceived as her criticism. Ironic. Which is quite ironic. Inspired. Who inspired him to follow his dream? Who inspired him to follow his dream? Who inspired him to follow his dream? Right. To value the simple things in life. Do you value the simple things in life? Temptation. To resist the temptation. Can you resist the temptation? To settle for second best. To resist the temptation to settle for second best. To settle for second best. To strive. To strive for. To strive for perfection. Temptation. Draw, bait, lure. Thank you.